music in that intro clip every single time. Just an absolute bop. All right, welcome everyone to our second Stencil office hours. We have our first guest promptly, Alan Montgomery. Thank you for joining, man. Appreciate you. Well, this is again our monthly kind of cadence for just talking about things that we are working on for the Stencil team, kind of sharing some insights, peeling back the curtain a little bit, but also making it ourselves accessible for the community. That way, if you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat. Hopefully, we'll be able to discuss things. If you are not able to join live, remember we do have a little form that you can use to submit your questions ahead of time. Link for that is in the little doobity-doob down below. It's my only opportunity to be able to actually say doobly-doo, and it's in an official capacity. All right, so let's kind of kick things off where we have a few personnel changes that we get to talk about. We get to talk about someone getting promoted or taking on more responsibilities other than just writing code. Will, why don't you share some news for people?
Yeah, so over the past month, since our previous office hours, I was offered a PM role. So now I am the PM for Stencil. It's exciting.
That could be a great thing or a very stressful thing. I'm not envious of that, but
I'm excited about it. Like there's I've used Stencil for so long, and the many use cases that I've used Stencil for, and just the things that we could do with it going forward. Like I get to both be the person who hopefully helps Stencil, make good decisions, and then also I'm the point person for all the bad decisions that can come out too. So if anything, I get to be the bearer of bad news and all that stuff. So I think it's exciting.
So you heard it here, folks. If we do something and you are not happy with it, it is all Will's fault. Nobody else, nobody who actually, shipped the feature or wrote the code, all Will's fault.
All on me.
Well, congratulations. I think one of the big things I'm curious about, what's your plans for it? What are you gonna do now that you have unlimited power? Are you going to completely change Stencil?
Nah. I'm being very intentional about where we need to go. I'm doing a lot of research, trying to figure out what's best, but I do want to get a roadmap out. I don't know where, when, why that looks, and most specifically, like when. That's the real big word that I want to emphasize. But I do want to figure out how to share that kind of stuff. And I just want Stencil, I think we all do, to work well and be very well understood by folks who are using it on a day-to-day basis. And I think that there's a topic later that we'll talk about with the packages, and I think that's absolutely on everybody else's minds. Like, where are all the other Stencil related packages at? That's a part of the whole thing of like just adding clarity, just making sure that folks know where we're at, and that's kind of my vision. Just make Stencil, cleaner, funner, and easier to work with, and it's pretty cut and dry from there. And hopefully figure out how to make money. It'd be great if we could pay for our roles, right?
That's the unspoken thing about open source projects, is that eventually they need to be viable commercially. So whatever we can do to make sure that the project is successful and that we all get to be here for the foreseeable future, that's okay in my book.
Me too.
Well, we have we have Mard in sending us the good vibes. Not the emoji doesn't come across in our streaming platform, but they are definitely felt. We can feel the good vibes. Well, congrats, Will. I know you'll do a great job. Look forward to
I'll do my
seeing all
best.
the cool things and what we get to share with the community.
Yeah, same. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Now, our newest member, we have Anthony Giuliano.
Hello.
Yeah, I think if anyone saw the Q3 event earlier this week, we got a little shout out to Anthony in there from our very own Ryan. So Anthony, why don't you introduce yourself to the community?
Yeah, definitely. So hi, everyone. Like I said, my name is Anthony Giuliano, and I am here as the Stencil Developer Advocate. So really excited to be in this role and start working with this team. I've been here for a month now, kind of been diving right in. It's been a really great experience. So excited to see where we go in the future with everything. I guess a little bit about me. Before coming to Ionic, I was working as a web developer. And specifically building out design systems. So as much as I enjoyed, being a web developer and still do enjoy being a developer, one of the things that I kind of realized while doing that is my favorite part of being a developer is helping other developers and sharing my knowledge and getting to teach people. So given my background in design systems and building components, and then, my love for just teaching, it really made sense to just become a developer advocate, and especially for Stencil. It's an awesome tool. It's a tool that I think a lot of people can get a lot of use out of, and I'm excited to explore that and grow our community. So yeah, just really excited to be here. And now I guess in terms of being a developer advocate for Stencil, my job, the short and sweet of it as I see it, is just to help the community, help you guys become better Stencil developers, improve the developer experience, and just do whatever we can to help you guys on that front. So if that's tutorial blogs or YouTube videos, live streams, more office hours, right? Like whatever we can do to help you guys meet you where you are and understand the problems that you're facing, the topics that you're curious about. We're happy to touch it all. So anything that you guys want us to talk about, I want to hear it. That's what we're here for. So yeah, I guess that's me. I won't hog the mic for too long, but like I said, really excited to be here.
Well, you know what? Let's make this official. We're gonna do this a little ad hoc right now because unfortunately I'm not a prepared person. I don't do things properly. I kid. Let me get this link going. Trying to get you all the followers that we can send your way. Can I post a comment? Yeah, everyone should be following Anthony on Twitter.
There it is.
You can tell it's him. He's got the same face, the same smile, and also the little avocado in his profile picture, in his profile description. So he's a real developer advocate. He's got the avocado in there. Well, Anthony, I know we'll peel back the the curtain a little bit. I remember actually talking with you during this whole entire interview process, and you seem to have all the qualities that good DevRel person should have. You're interested in teaching, you're wanting to help people and kind of focus on that aspect versus anything else. So I'm super excited to have you on the team. You've also gotten a chance to do some writing recently.
Yes.
Kind of first couple weeks in, and you already got 2 blog posts under your belt. You had the first one which is building an audio player. Was that your first one, or is that your second one?
Yeah, that was the first one, and super fun to just dive in head first and get familiar with Stencil and start, just building something. I figured, for the first one, maybe make it something, a little more unique. Audio players are everywhere nowadays, but I feel like there, are fewer people talking about how to build them. So I thought it was a cool opportunity to show off how we can use Stencil to build it. So that was super fun.
Very nice. As someone who's dealt with audio or web audio before, it's a pain. So having some guidance there, it's always fun. And then the second one that you wrote was a countdown tracker for any arbitrary time frame. It has
Yeah.
JavaScript dates, it's got formatting in there. It's got all the buzzwords that you need to have a good blog post.
Yeah, this one was super fun too, because we got to actually put this very component that you build in the tutorial on the Ionic site to count down for our launch event. So it was really cool to see it, go through the whole process, creating a React component with what we built in Stencil, and then putting it on the site. So that was awesome.
Nice, very nice. So people, check out the links in the chat. Read up on some cool stuff from Stencil, and be on the lookout for more blog posts from Anthony, and potentially seeing him at some conferences. We'll talk about that in the future, but or in later on in this episode. But yeah, well, glad to have you aboard, Anthony.
Thanks, Mike.
Now,
I'm really excited to see Anthony on the team too, and it's great from my perspective, and I think Ryan can share this too. Right? Is that like we have we've rounded out our team, the Stencil team. We have DevRel, we have a PM, we have engineering, and it's just exciting to see where we're at. Like, it's awesome, and we're jiving so well together.
Yeah,
always
for
the
sure.
most important part.
Yeah, I would agree. It's super exciting. The last time we talked, it was, just Will and I as engineers, and now it feels like we have a fuller team. And now we're looking to expand that team a little bit more. And I think that's going to be coming down the line in the next couple of months. So I'm excited to add some more engineering capacity to the team and start, really pushing on Stencil. This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
So people should definitely bookmark that link. I would say we're a pretty cool company. We have a couple of engineering roles open right now. Maybe not necessarily on the Stencil team at the moment, but if you're interested in Stencil and you want to join in the future, keep an eye out. We'll be posting some stuff.
I forgot to mention, Lars is also on the engineering team as well.
I was gonna say, there's another member on the team that they have a kind of prolific career so far here at Ionic. I think they've been on every single team so far, except for marketing. But they've been on the AppFlow team, the old Cly team, the Cloud team, and now they're on Stencil. So if you don't know, Lars, he's another person in the organization. You probably will see him on GitHub a little bit more. He's who knows? Maybe his next rotation will end up being with the framework and components team. All right, so let's kind of dive into our talking points. I know we have a few things that we prepared to talk about, but kind of want to bring up our big quarterly event that we had. For those who don't know, we had a first quarter event around the March timeframe. Then we had IoniConf, and now we have our Q3 event, giving product updates all from the all corners of the company. But we had a nice little Stencil segment. Ryan, you actually were the one to present.
I was, and you have no idea how terrifying it is to hear your own voice over your computer speaker for 7 minutes.
Oh, I do know that feeling.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm sorry.
That feeling.
I take it back. I know you know.
So, what were some of the things that you talked about? Obviously, you had what about you had like a whole 7 minutes in there? Threw a
Yeah,
lot into there.
yeah. So kind of to just recap, within the last month since we kind of last met for office hours, we talked about the fact that we've had 2 minor releases of Stencil since then, in which time we've been able to try to cram a bunch of features that we knew that we could land, as well as some bug fixes in there. Whether that be initial support for M1 Max. So when I first started, I couldn't compile Stencil on my computer. So the first thing I did was figure out how to compile Stencil on this architecture in this OS. And that led to Puppeteer v10 support. And then we kind of snowballed from there, whether it be small bug fixes with the custom elements bundle. And Will had a really nice PR for giving you better control over your fallback CSS. We released our first 2 releases, which was pretty big for us. And it's something that we're looking to kind of move towards a better cadence of going forward. But the big thing that we announced during the event was source maps, wherein we're going to start supporting the ability to generate source maps as a part of your compilation process, wherein we take that TSX, that TypeScript and JSX, and we transform it not only to this potentially minified JavaScript, but also provide a mapping back to your TypeScript. And what this does is this makes the debugging process immensely easier. We had a ton of help from a community member who really spearheaded a lot of this effort, who goes by the handle John Jenkins. So one more shout out to them. That their work there was invaluable for us. And that's what we've been kind of plugging on, most recently as of late, as well as a bunch of other fixes and features that we're really excited to bring into the next couple of releases of Stencil.
Yeah, John Jenkins just coming in clutch with a few pull requests recently that good for them. They have been putting in so much work. It's incredible to see the community really spearheading that.
Yeah, did you see what they landed, or what we landed from them yesterday? I think it was yesterday.
No, what was that?
So if you are using the custom elements bundle, previously you would have a component, and your component could have children, and those children could have children. So you'd have many levels of descendants, and you would have to manually register every single one of those components, which is kind of a pain if you think about it, because you need to know what children does my component use and what children do those children use. And you got to kind of just explore your entire dependency hierarchy there of your components. But now we've got this new functionality coming where you can just register the parent component, the parent-most components, the root component, if you will, and it'll automatically define all of those descendants for you. So you don't need to dig through all of your components. You just register one and it's done.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's magical. And to be clear, it's the dist custom elements bundle, or dist custom elements output target, and not the dist custom elements bundle, right?
Yeah.
It's so
Names
cool.
are hard.
It's really helpful.
Yeah.
That is super cool though. I hadn't even thought of like that being a problem, because I would always assume it's just like, oh, you just export one component, and then if you want to use another component, you just add that component. You don't actually declare in the template. But I didn't even think that would be something people would want to do.
It's awesome. It's not only does it help people who just directly use Stencil, but this is also going to be a really useful feature for Framework v6, because we have some very new components that are really cool and we're really excited about, and this helps the team out on the framework side quite a bit, and that they don't have to define all of these custom elements that they know exist. They're aware of it because they wrote the code, but this makes what they've written so much nicer and cleaner and a little bit more compact.
Oh, that's awesome. Is there any time? Now source maps feature? Is there any time frame when people can take advantage of that? Is it like released now, or should we wait a couple weeks?
So what we've been moving towards as a team is a semi-fixed cadence for releases as a whole. And originally, and they still are, our releases are backed by the sprint cycles that we run here at Ionic. We recently moved to 3-week sprints where we'll work for 13 out of those 15 weekdays. And then we have 2 days of hack days, basically, which I think we're going to be talking about a little bit. But essentially, at the start of every sprint going forward, we're going to start releasing Stencil in some capacity. So it's likely going to be a minor version, or at the very least a patch version. So we want to be basically publishing is pretty consistently and getting these features out to the community. So our next target publish date or release date for Stencil is going to be October 11th, which is a Monday. And we're hoping to have source maps ready to go by then. There's a few things that we need to wrap up still and a few test cases we need to cover, but I think we're looking pretty good. So no promises, but I'm very optimistic that October 11th is going to be a good day.
Mm-hmm. Mistake number one, you put a stick
I know. I know, and then I said it twice.
Now we're talking about it. Now people are going to be like, well, Ryan said October 11th. Where's the release?
I know. You know what the good news is? We said that we have somebody that we can blame for all of these things. He's our new product manager.
Had to find the mute button. Yeah. Just at me on Twitter. I'm asking for it. Oh no.
Well, listen, we have Matt Driscoll over here with the good vibes. I had to open up YouTube in another tab to kind of see what the good vibes emoji actually is, and it's just somebody doing a little peace sign. Wow. So yes, peace, good vibes. All great things. Just cool stuff all around. So yeah, some really good stuff coming out of the Q3 event. I'm super excited to see source maps and everything else coming out. Hopefully October 11th, but if not, we'll riot. So kind of moving on from that. I know that there's this. We talked about it last office hours of the huge amount of things that are in the Stencil ecosystem, a lot of which are under our organization. What's the status of that? I know, Will, you've been doing some thinking around it now that you're in the PM role and everything. Do you have any updates for us? Is everything working and not broken?
Yeah, we'll get there.
I joke.
So one of the as soon as I was offered the PM role, I was like, okay, one of the big things I want to focus on is all the things that are surrounding Stencil, so that we could have a healthy ecosystem. And first, what that meant was okay, just put all this stuff in basically a spreadsheet, and let's figure out where it's all at. And since then, what I've done is I've split it out, split all of our NPM and our GitHub packages and repos out into 2 and some other categories, but 2 that are big, supported and unsupported packages. So we got some announcements today, and you get to point at me and be like, why, or something, or talk to me and actually let's figure out how to help you migrate. Because I would love to understand some of the pain points of these things too. But there are a lot of both NPM packages and GitHub repos that we as a team have to figure out how to support and how to support well. So first round was just organizing them, right? Understanding where they're at. And so here's a list of the supported packages so far. There's 20. And I'm not going to capture all of these, but Stencil Store is supported. We're going to double down on that too. The React output target, the Angular output target, and the Vue output target. Sass, at Stencil/Sass, less, stylus, and post CSS. Those are all supported. There's an at Stencil/ static site generation /SSG. That's what it is. I'll post it in the chat or maybe Mike, you could while I'm writing this out or saying all this stuff. That one's supported. The ESLint plugin, that one's supported. The Helmet plugin, which is a plugin that helps you rewrite stuff that's in the head when you're writing an SPA. That one's supported. The router v2 is supported. And Stencil/Webpack is supported. So all of these things we've been working since I got the PM role on trying to figure out how to bring all of the issues and all the PRs that exist on those GitHub repos into our Jira backlog. so that we can really like think about it and have it on our in our purview, right? So here's a list of unsupported packages. First is Stencil State Tunnel. We're going to be deprecating State Tunnel because I think, and from what I've seen in practices, it can cause devs to write some pretty poor patterns. And I feel strongly that Store is a better pattern for developers, especially moving forward, as where Stencil and its core offerings really, really move. Tangentially, Stencil Router v1, that's going to be deprecated. Stencil Router v2 actually uses Store to make it so that you don't have to write HTML elements. And v1 used HTML, custom HTML elements to help do all the routing. And there was a lot of feedback around that. Why clog up the DOM when you can do something a little more intelligently in more sort of virtual place? And that's what v2 does. And v2 isn't where it needs to be quite yet, but there's a lot that we can do to be able to get it there. And I think it's much closer, frankly, than v1 was to its like vision, like complete vision, right? So that's why we want to double down on v2 instead of v1. And then there's some other ones that not a lot of folks use, but maybe there could be some circumstances where you use these just as a heads up. There's a Stencil Inspector that was a Chrome plugin. We're going to deprecate that. It hasn't worked in a while though. So it's like, if you are using it, you're probably on v1 and you should upgrade to Stencil v2. There's another package and NPM repo, Stencil Utils. These are utility functions that are used in tandem with Stencil. And commonly these are like some concurrent behaviors, but they were mostly used in v1, mostly v0 circumstances. And it's just like old, and it's challenging to figure out how best to support these things. And really Core, I think, could offer these if we could think about it just a little more intelligently. So that's gone, deprecated. And then the Stencil dev server, that's the v0 dev server that's baked into Stencil. So we're going to be adding deprecated flags and archive those repos. And then that Stencil screenshot, that's folded into Core as well. So that's also going to be marked as deprecated on NPM and archived on GitHub. That's effectively the plan. It's great because right now I'm the PM. I get to be the sort of bearer of bad news, but also I can help you work through these sort of upgrades, and hopefully we can work on docs. And so my timeline on getting rid of these, or not getting rid of these, but deprecating and archiving these are probably ideally like the end of the year, to have like complete, like, okay, this is complete. These are deprecated and these are supported. It just takes time to like get all of the packages and NPM packages and GitHub repos prepared to consume in our, we use Jira for sprint planning, and also to like archive each of those and make sure that we have all our ducks in a row, so that, even potentially to be able to make sure that, we have a good upgrade path and we can document these things like, hey, State Tunnel is still on the doc site. How can we, push people to using Store patterns like that? So right. That full sort of migration vision will come to fruition in time, but, generally by the end of the year, we'll get there.
For sure. And I want to point out or make sure that it's clear that this isn't just, arbitrary decisions because we say that this is a terrible package, or this is not a good pattern, or no one's using this. Like, we're actually using some empirical data to like back up those claims. Like, oh, this hasn't been downloaded in like months.
Mm-hmm.
There's no real reason to keep it around if nobody's using it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we ship, one of my first PRs was shipping telemetry, and telemetry helps us like identify just like usage around Stencil and the other offerings, Stencil, like, where's Stencil SAS at? And so those are the kinds of things that, like, for example, we use to make these determinations.
Yeah. Don't get rid of Stencil SAS. We actually, I think,
No,
we actually use that for framework.
Yeah, no.
So there's some things that we need that for.
Right.
But, also a really good thing to keep in mind is that all this stuff is open source. So, like, if you are somebody who is, like, super adamant that Stencil Router V1 is your preferred way of doing things, fork it. Make it your own. Kind of take ownership of that. One of the best things about all this ecosystem is that you can just take that code and make it your own and ship it and say, we're going to do something different. Maybe even take it in a different direction from what we had established.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Keep that open source spirit going.
Yeah.
Love that. Yeah.
Awesome. So expecting to see some packages go away. We need to send you like a little bell or like a little gong or something, just so whenever you want to like deprecate something, you just hear a gong.
Do you remember the Staples like that was easy button?
Yeah.
We'll find one of those for you. We'll send you that.
Be on the lookout, Will. You might get a package in the mail in a couple days.
That sounds awesome.
So at this moment, before we dive into our other stuff, we do actually have questions that I'm just realizing were submitted to our form. Only a few of them. Probably the most important one that I think everyone wants to know: Storybook with Stencil Js? Question mark. Do we have any idea? Look, I know we talked about that pretty extensively last office hours. We might not have any updates at the moment, but
I think what I could share is now that I'm in a PM role, my job is to research and talk to folks and understand what it would take to get there, and share that with the engineering team, and then also like try to figure out what they would envision, right? And I think Storybook, I've already started research on Storybook. I'm going to be just transparent here. There's 3 big areas that I'm thinking about with Stencil in the future is like Storybook, SSR, and the framework bindings. And we could unpack that and talk about that all day. But it's pretty raw and early in the stage of like research where it's at. But like I think we'll have a little bit of something there soon. It's not necessarily a segue, but I'll be able to share a little form soon. Yeah, Storybook research is on its way. Like, and we'll have a stronger determination soon. It's just not quite yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, insert that random GIF of Sue.
Yeah.
Perfect. There's also a question in here about functional components and making them kind of more full-featured. I actually haven't used functional components in Stencil, to be honest, so I don't actually know too much. My only experience with functional components comes from React, so I am curious. Is that still something that we can do in Stencil?
I think it's something that's been asked. There's definitely an issue on GitHub asking something very, very similar. And I think it comes down to research at the end of the day and taking some energy and putting that effort there to that research. I don't think Will and I have actually directly talked about it yet, but it's something that we should probably figure out and put somewhere on our roadmap. And again, this all comes down to, what does the community want and what can the community use and what can we do from a technical standpoint? So it's not something that we're opposed to by any means, but it's just something that we've got to do our due diligence on, do some research, and figure out where that lies in with the rest of our priorities.
All right, pretty awesome. And then documentation around framework bindings. Now, Anthony, I think this might fall into your kind of things to work on, or DevRel in general. Someone's asking if we specifically about framework bindings, but I know documentation is a never-ending thing.
Right.
You got any plans to work on some docs soon?
Yeah, this is a great question, and especially with regard to framework bindings, because this is something that we ran into when I was actually building out that countdown tracker that we were talking about earlier. We realized that the docs can get you through that process, but they might not be as good as they can be. But as we were saying, like something that's really exciting as we're kind of leaning into Stencil and building out this team, in full force, we have more capacity to look at things like that, be it the framework bindings or all of our documentation, and just see where parts are lacking and make it a bit clearer so it's easier for people to use.
And remember, if you would like to see an improvement or like to ask your question, use that link for the form. And also, if there's any docs that you think need improvement or you would like to lend a hand on, check out github.com/ionicteam/stencil-site. A very wordy URL. Docs are just one of those things that you will never be done with. And having worked on the framework docs for quite a bit, there's always something that's going to change. So the more people we can get involved helping out with the docs and making the content better and more up to date, the happier we will be, and the happier the community will be. So I know Hacktober is coming up. So if you would like to make your first pull request, definitely find some documentation improvements. That's always a welcomed PR. And they're pretty easy to make, or pretty low barrier to entry for those. Cool. So I think those cover all the questions that have been submitted. Let's kind of get back to our schedule. I know we have a few things that I want to touch on, and Ryan, you mentioned it, Hack Day. We've had Hack Days before at the company, and they're these big events, typically once or twice a year. What's this, Hack Days every week now?
Hack Day is not every week, although I would love it if it was. So I mentioned earlier that we work on 3-week sprint iterations, and what we'll do is we work on engineering-based tasks for 13 of those days, and for 2 of those we have what we call our Jedi Days or Hack Days. And within these, really what we're doing is we're exploring different ways in which our products at Ionic could be better, could be utilized in different ways, or just taking care of some business that needed to get done. So personally, I probably had the most boring Hack Day projects because I was just doing a lot of little tech debt things behind the scenes. However, Will Riley and Will Martin, who is a member of the framework team, they had some really cool stuff that they built, and I probably couldn't do it justice, to be honest. So I think Will should probably take it from here and explain some of the things that they did, and some of the things that they learned from it, and it was just super cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really, really fun. Getting to collaborate with the other Will here at Ionic. So
You mean this Will?
Yes.
Will Martin.
I will. So one of the things that I was working on was just like simple and whatever. And then like at 3 p.m. on Thursday, Will slacks me this repo with a little video of what he was doing. And what he did was he made some backend framework bindings for WordPress. And so that was pretty exciting for me because that just sort of clicked something in my brain. And I was thinking, I'd like to explore this a little further. So then the next day, Friday, I worked on hacking that even more together in collaboration with Will. I stayed up even like super late that Thursday after I got that message, and I just like jammed. And then on Saturday and Sunday, I worked on my own personal little hack thing, which was a framework bindings for Ruby on Rails. GitHub, they use web components, and they also wrap their web components in something called, if you go to viewcomponent.org, that's their like little framework to call their concepts inside of their Ruby code. And so, I started exploring with this idea of like backend framework bindings for Stencil, and thinking about like how declarative shadow DOM is coming down the pike. Maybe there's something there to help folks get rid of this like node middleman when you want to do SSR proper. So I worked on, I want to find people who are interested in that, and I want to talk to you. So Mike, if you could post that link.
Boom, I got you.
So that's a forum I worked on. And I just want to understand, like, what are the different maybe potential backend targets that you'd like to explore with Stencil if we offered these kinds of things and made it so that, you could consume your web components with a view layer concept in whatever backend framework you use. And we could figure out how to do, SSR very well. Just would you be interested in that? Like, tell me more. I just want to get into your head. So if that does sound fascinating to you, please fill that form out, and I'll get in contact with you and just like want to hear your thoughts and brain dump.
Get out of my head, Will.
You got it.
And that seems to be this really cool thing. That was just like a hack day project, and potentially could be something we don't quite know.
Right.
It seems like these hack day projects are definitely a great way to say, hey, I have this concept, I want to try it out. Can I have the time and resources to experiment a little bit? Just something I like to. The way that our company is set up of just being able to like, here's like a day or two to figure it out, and if you want to make something of it, you have the rest of the company's backing or support, and you can just do it. Pretty cool to see that. You don't see that in a lot of other companies. Just some little, in case anyone wants to work here. No, we're pretty cool.
Throw up that jobs link one more time.
Where is it?
Ionic.com/careers? /jobs.
Ionic.io /jabs. /gerbs. That's cool. I love to see that. And people, if you want to chat about those backend solutions, fill out that form. You'll get Will direct contact to Will. He will probably want to talk to you.
Yep.
And the last thing I do want to touch on before we're getting close to the hour here, and that is community events. And this is something, Anthony, you're going to be leading this up.
Yes.
Are we going to be able to see you on the on the road or on the computer screen?
On the road, yeah. So this is really exciting to me because this is a stencil first coming, and what I mean by that is we are going to be sponsoring not one but two conferences in October as the Stencil brand. So really excited about this. The first one that we'll be sponsoring is Jamstack Conf, which is as soon as next week. October 6th and 7th. We'll be sponsoring that. There will be opportunities to win swag, which I know is always important. And we may also have some Jamstack stencil related content down the road. So be on the lookout for that as well. Then in the end of October, October 25th to the 29th, we'll be a sponsor at IJS, the International JavaScript Conference. This conference is in Munich, but it's a hybrid conference. So that's where we'll be on the road. Right, so we'll be sponsoring. I'll be giving a talk all about Stencil and web components and all of the problems that Stencil solves with regard to web components and how you can use Stencil in your front-end frameworks. So if that sounds interesting, definitely be on the lookout for that, October 25th to the 29th. We'll also have a virtual booth. So come and just hang out, ask questions, let us know what you're interested in. Let us know what you want to see more of in the future. I think they're both going to be really great events, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the Stencil community at them.
Yeah, not just the fact that it's going to be under the Stencil brand fully and not like Ionic directly. It's not anything bad. It's just to clearly put out our intent is just this is something that Stencil community probably should be paying attention to, and we think that specifically like with Jamstack Conf, like Jamstack Stencil, that's a no-brainer. Why don't we do that?
Right. Yeah, I think starting to sponsor conferences as the Stencil brand just opens up a lot more opportunities for us. So things like Jamstack, things like design systems conferences, right? I mean, Stencil, isn't a no-brainer when it comes to design systems conferences that we haven't really been at as the Ionic brand. So lots of opportunities, lots of things in the future.
So we'll get to see you speaking and running a virtual booth. People go sign up for JavaScript. IJS, javascriptconference.com/Munich. Should be a great event. I've actually never been to that one, but I've heard about it and have only heard great things. So definitely something that'll be cool. We do have a question that someone posted that I missed earlier from this gentleman, Michael. I think Michael. How do you handle
Is it prioritization?
Yeah. Prioritization. Okay. I thought, are you looking at votes? Are you thinking of, or they're especially thinking of one issue in particular, file hashing, which is super critical. And this is actually a really, really important thing. Ryan, how do you handle this?
Yeah, so as a result of Will kind of moving into this product management role, we have this this tiered approach now, as opposed to previously we were all getting in a room and we would triage issues and they would kind of sit for a little bit. Whereas now we've got this new system wherein as the PM, will go through the GitHub issues backlog, or just the list of issues. It's not necessarily a backlog, I suppose. But what he'll do is he'll go through and he'll mark them using GitHub labels. So there are ones that say this is a bug, this needs validation, this is or there will be one that says this is something that we as a team need to refine. And there's all kinds of hookups behind the scenes that pipe these things into our Jira issue management system, so we can take a look at the issues, refine them, so that way they're ready for the engineering team to look at. Simultaneously, I will be going through the issue backlog, typically on a time-based system. So, what's the most recent thing that's come into our issues list? And if Will's marked something as something that needs validation, what I'll do is I'll, pull down their reproduction issue or the reproduction case, and I'll validate it. And if it's a valid issue or a valid feature request, we'll mark it as something that we should, talk about more and something that we should potentially work on. That's one of the reasons why we've started asking for reproduction cases recently, full ones, as opposed to as opposed to a code snippet, because that expedites both mine and Will's job so much. Being able to see the full picture from folks, it's been immensely helpful. So there's, in some kind of two-tiered approach where, Will's marking things as, Ryan, can you please take a look at this? And then I'm also taking a look at these issues once he does that and saying, yes, this is good, or no, we need a little bit more information before we can act on it. Will, is there anything I missed there that you wanted to add on?
No, all the backend stuff I will just add. No, not everybody in the community can just go in and add any of those labels. We made it so that, it's only me, Ryan, and anybody else that's on the Ionic team that, so you can't just like mark as needs refinement and then suddenly it's in our backlog. So we protected against that.
I know, yeah. I know open source project management is it's just something it's a struggle to get right, but I feel like we've got a good balance as of recently. It's just good to see that the project is being maintained well. So I think that covers everything. I know our notes have been taken care of. I'm not seeing any questions that pop up. So let me find it one more time. All the important links. If you have any questions about it for next time, where is it? Here it is. I think that's it. Pretty sure that's it. I don't know. And we just lost Ryan, so I think that's a sign.
No. Is that a sign?
I think this is a sign. So everyone, thank you so much for hanging out. This has been a lot of fun. Take a look at Jamstack.conf, IJS. You'll be able to hear Anthony at IJS and come by our booth. Super excited to be sponsoring those as the Stencil team. And we will see you all on GitHub. Ryan, thank you for joining us super last minute. You get to be part of the sign off. So we'll see everyone in a month's time. Hopefully we'll have a few more people here. But take care, everyone.
Awesome.
Take care, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.